Have you ever opened YouTube or Instagram and suddenly felt like you're behind in life? One video tells you to wake up at 5 a.m., another tells you to build 10 habits, read 50 books a year, meditate, cold shower, optimize your routine, track your goals, build discipline, build wealth, become the best version of yourself. And after watching all of that, you close the app and think, maybe I'm not doing enough, maybe I'm not improving fast enough, maybe I need to fix myself. But what if I told you something that might sound surprising at first? As a Muslim, you actually don't need self-improvement. Now wait a second before you misunderstand me. I'm not saying Muslims shouldn't grow, shouldn't learn, or shouldn't discipline themselves. Of course we should. Islam encourages excellence in everything we do, but what I'm saying is something deeper than that. The modern idea of self-improvement that dominates the internet today is something a Muslim was never meant to chase in the first place. Think about it for a moment. The entire self-improvement industry is built on a single idea: you are incomplete and you need to fix yourself. It constantly tells you that the next habit, the next routine, the next system will finally make you feel fulfilled. And yet, strangely enough, the more people chase these systems, the more anxious they seem to become. Studies in psychology even show that constantly focusing on optimizing yourself can increase feelings of inadequacy because you begin to see yourself as a project that is never finished. So people keep chasing the next improvement. Another productivity hack, another discipline routine, another way to upgrade themselves. But Islam came with a completely different perspective over 1400 years ago through the message of the Prophet Muhammad. Islam never told you to obsess over improving yourself in order to become impressive to the world. Instead, it gave you something much more powerful, a complete way of life that already trains your heart, your mind, and your character without calling it self-improvement. Think about it. 5 daily prayers structure your entire day. Fasting teaches you discipline and control over your desires. Charity teaches you generosity and empathy. Remembrance of Allah brings calmness to your mind in a way that modern mindfulness apps are trying to recreate. And the Qur'an constantly reminds you to reflect on yourself, to purify your heart, and to become better in character. But here's the key difference that most people miss. Modern self-improvement says, improve yourself so you can become more successful, more productive, more admired. Islam says something completely different. Islam says, improve your heart so you can become closer to Allah. Do you see the shift there? One focuses on building the self, the other focuses on serving the creator of the self. And that small shift changes everything. Because when a Muslim wakes up early, it's not because some productivity influencer told him that successful people wake up at 5 a.m., it's because he wakes up for Salah. When a Muslim practices discipline, it's not because he's trying to optimize his lifestyle, it's because Ramadan trained him to control his desires. When a Muslim reflects on his actions at the end of the day, it's not because he read about journaling techniques, it's because he knows one day he will stand before Allah and account for his deeds. Even something like gratitude, which psychologists today say improves happiness and mental health, is already embedded deeply in Islam. The Quran reminds believers again and again to be grateful, promising that gratitude increases blessings. So the Muslim is already practicing a mindset that modern research is just beginning to rediscover. But here's where the modern self-improvement culture becomes dangerous for many Muslims. It quietly shifts the center of your life from Allah to yourself. Suddenly, everything becomes about my growth, my success, my discipline, my achievements, and slowly, without realizing it, the heart becomes attached to progress and status rather than sincerity and humility. Islam protects you from that trap. Because in Islam, your value isn't measured by how optimized your routine is, how many books you read, or how productive your mornings are. Your value is measured by something far deeper: your sincerity, your intentions, and the condition of your heart. A person could live a simple life, unnoticed by the world, yet be incredibly beloved to Allah, and another person could achieve everything society calls success, yet feel empty inside. So when people say Muslims need self-improvement, the truth is more nuanced than that. A Muslim doesn't need to chase a system designed by motivational speakers or productivity gurus. Islam already gave us a path that naturally develops discipline, patience, humility, and purpose. The companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, didn't read productivity books, they didn't track their habits with apps. Yet they became some of the most remarkable human beings in history because their focus wasn't on improving the self, it was on pleasing Allah. And ironically, when that becomes your focus, your character improves anyway. You become more patient because Islam teaches patience. You become more disciplined because prayer structures your day. You become more grateful because the Qur'an constantly reminds you to reflect on blessings. You become more compassionate because charity becomes part of your life. Without chasing self-improvement, you naturally become improved. And maybe that's the perspective shift we need today. Instead of asking, how can I optimize my life? Maybe the better question is, how can I strengthen my relationship with Allah? Because once that relationship becomes the center of your life, everything else begins to fall into place. Your habits improve, your mindset improves, your discipline improves. But more importantly, your heart improves. And at the end of the day, that's the only improvement that truly matters. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by the endless pressure to constantly upgrade yourself, remember this: as a Muslim, you were already given a path designed by the one who created you, a path that shapes your character, your discipline, and your purpose in a way no modern system ever could. And maybe the real question isn't whether we need self-improvement. Maybe the real question is whether we've fully embraced the guidance we already have. If this perspective made you pause and think for a moment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think Muslims today are too influenced by modern self-improvement culture? Or do you think it can still be beneficial when balanced with faith? Share your reflections in the comments, and if you enjoy these kinds of conversations that explore Islam and modern life, consider subscribing so we can continue learning and reflecting together.